In today's reading vlog, I'm going to take you through my experience reading two books that both happen to be mystery thrillers with reality TV components. Both of these books were on my TBR for this month, and then I realized that they both have this reality TV element, so I thought it would be fun to group them together and do a little reading vlog and just see if that is something that I like, if that's something that makes it more interesting to me. I personally am a huge lover of reality TV. I will watch any reality TV show, really. I love to watch competition-based reality shows. I love to watch dating-based reality shows. I'll even watch like wilderness survival reality shows. I just like watching real people go through these experiences and the drama it creates, and some people call it trash TV, but I call it an anthropological study. The books I'm going to be reading in this video are first, A Game of Lies by Clare Mackintosh. This is actually the second book in a series, but it is a detective series, so you kind of could read it as a standalone. It definitely has connections. I'm talking to after I've already read the book, so I know this at this point. But the way I'll be talking about this book and presenting it, I'm not going to spoil anything from the first book. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to be talking about it just as a standalone detective mystery. This is a book about a reality TV show that's being filmed in the wilderness, and a contestant goes missing, and then a detective comes in to try to solve what's going on. I'll also be reading one of my most anticipated books of the year, One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. This is a survival thriller that is set on an island where contestants are going out to film a reality TV dating show. A storm blows in, they end up stuck on the island. Will they survive? I actually had this idea years ago where I thought it would be really fun to do a series of filming a reading vlog like something else, like in a stylistic way of something else. I have done this once before where I did a reading vlog in the style of A24 because I just love A24 films, and I still to this day love that video. I thought it was so fun and just a nice way to be a little more creative and try something a little bit different. Back then, I also had this idea of filming a reading vlog in the style of reality TV show, and I tried to plan it all out and how I would do it, and I just couldn't really figure out the concept. I was thinking with this video, maybe I could try it, and then again, like I can't figure out a way to make it work in the way I want to make it work. If anyone ever films that, I think it would be so fun to watch. But for me, it's just like, it's not working fully. But like I said, I'm a lover of reality TV shows, and one of the staples of reality TV show is really ridiculous transitions where they're just showing you like drone footage of cities and people walking and random things and exteriors of houses before it gets you back in on the drama. And I've always just thought those are such a funny, interesting way to transition between things. So anyway, all of that to say, I took a little bit of a shot at doing something a little bit silly to incorporate those transitions into this video a little bit. So bear with me through a little cheesy transition as we jump on into the reading vlog. I started A Game of Lies last night, and I'm like 15% into it, so very early first impressions are what I will be sharing with you right now. This is technically the second book in a series. I don't know how much is going to be connected to the series. It's a detective series, so typically those are just following a detective through different things in their life and their storyline in different mysteries, but there's like certain things you know about them along the way. So there are definitely things that have been revealed about this main character and the connections to other characters and things that have happened relating to their relationships with other characters in the first book that this is following the events of. But so far it seems like we could probably just read it, maybe. I don't know. I mean, definitely always recommend starting from the beginning, but I won't spoil anything is all that I was gonna say. Is if you don't want to hear anything that can spoil the first book, which was called The Last Party, I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm gonna be talking about this book independently and the mystery of it independently. So the reality TV aspect of this book is that there's this show that's being filmed called Exposure, and it's like a competition reality TV show. There's like 14 people who all get together to compete on it, and they think it's just gonna be like a typical competition show, but then there's a twist where they find out that it's actually all about their own personal secrets and trying to expose everyone's secrets, and whoever is left standing wins a whole lot of money, and everyone has a secret that they don't want to come out. So it's really high stakes, really interesting kind of concept for a TV show, and that's the situation of what the show is. The main character in this book is the detective Detective Fionn Morgan, who you met in the first book. And she is local to this area, so she knows some people around the area. She knows one person who's on the show. They are friends, and that person is competing in the show. And otherwise, she's just like familiar in the area. So she initially gets called out to the set on like the first day because there are bones found on the set. They were like digging up a fire pit and they found bones. They called out the detectives to come out, but she quickly ruled it out as being animal bones because there was like a dog collar with all the bones. So they dismissed that as no big deal. But then the next day they get a call again, and it's because one of the contestants has gone missing. So she's going to be investigating what happened to the missing contestant. She is also watching the show as it's airing. So this is a unique reality TV show that airs the same day that they're filming. So they film all their stuff in the morning, and then that night the TV show episode airs. So she's like working on the case, but then also going home and watching the reality TV show, which I think is a really interesting angle of like seeing what these people are portrayed to be, but then getting to actually be with them in real life and trying to figure out what's going on there. So it's still pretty early, just 15%. So not a lot has happened. We've just generally kind of introduced all the characters who are going to be involved, and then the contestant has gone missing. So I'm really liking it so far. I'm liking just being back in this world with these characters. I enjoyed the first book quite a bit. I gave it like a 3.5 to a 4-star rating, and I just think the setup is unique and cool and fun, and I'm having a good time. So that's my early impressions. I'll let you know more as I continue. Okay, good morning. It is a Saturday morning, and this is Cooper. And I just got up and I was going to sit outside and read and have my coffee for a bit, but I realized I'm 50% through the book now, so I probably need to talk to you before I read way too much of it and don't give you a midway update. I am really, really liking this book. I really like the way it's building. I could tell kind of what it was building to. I doubt what just happened is in the synopsis. Maybe it is, but I don't know. So I won't give away too many specific details, but I really like the direction that it's going, and I really like the book. It's just, I don't know. There's this thing lately where I really am just enjoying mysteries, like police procedurals, just solving a crime. It doesn't have to be the most original thing I've ever read. It doesn't have to be the most original concept. If it's just got an interesting mystery that has me hooked and trying to solve it with some interesting characters, then I'm in for a good time. I was talking about this recently in a recent video and how I watch all of these detective TV shows, and so now that's made me more drawn to detective books. I'm reading more of those and enjoying more of those, and there were several people that were interested in hearing my recommendations for both books and TV shows that I watch in the detective realm. I definitely feel like I've watched enough detective murder mystery little limited series shows that are somewhere between like 1 to 3 seasons. I have a good list of those curated where I can tell you like which ones are good and which ones are worth watching. I don't know if I've read enough detective books to be able to do the same, so I'm gonna need to take an inventory of what I've read, but I do think that would be a fun video to make because that is something that's more and more becoming my taste and a bigger part of what I read and what I watch. So I do think that would be fun to do a little video for. And I don't think it's going to be conventional, because if you think like detective books, you're probably thinking like, I don't know, is Karen Slaughter's series like a detective series? I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what the most popular detective books are. So it'll probably be like a little different from what you'd expect, maybe a little random, books that just happen to be detective murder mysteries that maybe aren't like the most known ones, but that I've enjoyed a lot. And I feel like this series could end up on that list because I'm really liking it. Like, I'm just really enjoying it. The detective isn't the most prevalent character in this one. I feel like in the first book, her life was more front and center. And in this book, it's more like you're getting so many different POVs between the reality TV contestants and the people who work on the reality show, and then her and people around her in her life, the detectives, who I mean by her. Like, it's more spread around. I guess in the first book, it was really about the community too. It's just been a while since I read that book. Anyways, I like it. I'm having a really good time with it. I like where it's going. I just got into part 2 where something kind of drastic happened, and now we have another mystery to solve. So I'm gonna keep reading and I'll keep you posted. We have much to catch up on. I have finished A Game of Lies and I am giving it a 5-star. I didn't necessarily see that coming, but I have no complaints. Like, I really enjoyed this book and I have nothing to give it other than a 5-star. I really had a good time with it. I've been having more and more of these books come up this year where I say, you know, they're not groundbreaking, they're not doing anything that I've never seen done before, and like putting a crazy twist in it. It's just a really solid book that I had a great experience with. I was intrigued the whole time. The mystery kept me guessing. pacing. I like the characters. I like the atmosphere and tone of the story. It's like the perfect balance of not too cozy, but a little cozy. Like it's not overly silly, but there's a little silly, a little snark in the characters. It's just like my perfect vibe in a book. I think I might have said something about this earlier, but this book doesn't seem to be as focused on Fion's character arc in this book. Fion's the main detective in the series, and this is technically the second book in the series. But the first book, from my memory, I feel like was more focused on giving her an arc because of what is revealed in that book. And then in this book, she is a main character, but you also get plenty of other POVs from people in the community, people on the show, people in Fion's family, people around Fion. And overall, Fion does not change a lot through the course of this book. You're not like on a path with her to see her really change much. You're just kind of like following her within this story. And then at the end, something kind of happens that is clearly going to be leading into a little bit of a change for her in the next book. But I think that's why this could work as a standalone so easily, because while there are things to know about Fion that you learn from the first book, and like if you read this, it's going to spoil that for you. If you don't want to like go back and read that whole book and you just want to jump into the series here, it seems like a perfect place where you could pick this book up. It's a very contained police procedural crime mystery thriller, small community kind of situation, and I just had a really good time with it. As for the reality TV show aspect of this book and how that played into it, that is something that makes it a little bit unique for me. To this point, I don't know how many books I've read that have incorporated reality TV. I'm going to spend more time trying to compile a list, and then when I get to the end of this video, I want to talk more about the common themes that I'm seeing between these books that have reality TV enmeshed in them, and like what they talk about, and kind of compare and contrast those. So I'm not gonna like overly sit on a soapbox about the reality TV theme portion of this book because I'm gonna save that for a larger discussion at the end. But for a quick little overview of what this one touched on and how the reality TV aspect impacted the story, it didn't really feel super in your face reality TV. It just kind of felt like that was the circumstances bringing these characters together, and there was a little bit of stuff sprinkled throughout, like the concepts of editing and how editing can really change something. And you would see the segment on TV, but then you would go back and see something from another character's perspective and see what really happened and see how very twisted that got, and how an editor can really take all these things that are filmed and make a completely different story and spin a completely different narrative. That comes up several times throughout the book. But other than that, the show didn't play a huge aspect in the actual plot points of what was happening in the story, because things go awry pretty quickly and then it becomes so investigation based versus the show's going on and like here are all the things going on in the show. So I would say this one is more crime procedural heavy with little things of reality TV going on in the book that kind of set the stage. The other book, which we can go ahead and jump into, that I will be reading, One Perfect Couple, seems to be a bit different. So I have started One Perfect Couple and I'm about 140 pages into it, and I got through this all in one sitting. I'm flying through this. I'm really liking it. But this one feels quite different from A Game of Lies, and I was a little bit nervous that I was going to burn myself out on this topic by reading two books back to back with the same setting and themes, but they feel so different that that's not actually becoming a problem at all. Because now looking back, A Game of Lies feels so much just like a detective story that happened to have reality TV elements in it, whereas this is a very reality TV forward book. I have read every book that Ruth Ware has published over the years as she's been publishing them, so I've been reading Ruth Ware for a very long time, and it's hard for me to always remember all of the details of her books because it's been over such a long span of time that I can't remember offhand if she writes books that feel more like mysteries or more like thrillers, and which ones are maybe more predominantly mystery, which ones are thrillers, what the overall mix is. I can't always remember that, but I can always remember like the last two or three that I've read that have been more recent. So I never really know which way she's gonna go, if it's gonna be more of a slow burn mystery, if it's gonna be more of a thriller. With 0 Days, that one was more of a thriller. That was like a survival thriller. And then before that, I think was The It Girl, which was more of a slow-paced mystery. So I haven't been able to tell quite yet how the bulk of this story is going to go. I know I'm pretty far into it, being 130 pages in, but I'm still in the first like 35–40% of the book, and a lot of it has been a setup, but it could lead to more of a survival thriller aspect because of the direction the story's going. So what this book is about is this reality TV show called One Perfect Couple, and the details of what the show is going to be are a little fuzzy and unclear to the contestants who are coming into the show. The main characters you're following in the story are Lila and Nico, and they are a couple. Lila is a scientist, Nico is an actor, and he is getting this opportunity to go on the show, but he needs her to come with him, and he's like, babe, we gotta go, like this is my chance to make a big break. And she's like, I'm really busy working on my research, I don't really want to be on reality TV, I'm like a normal looking person, I don't think I'm made for reality TV. He's like, we have to go on this show, this can be my big break. So she decides that she will go with him. They've been dating for like 2 or 3 years at this point, so you know, they're a little bit serious, and they go onto the show together. And a lot of the book in the beginning is giving you the details of what that process is like, from the applying and the interviewing and then planning to get on the trip and then all the transportation to get there, and then once they get there, the setup of the scene and what everything is like. So it's been a very detailed build-up, which I do feel like Ruth Ware is getting really good at doing, where she just really hits all the steps of like building a picture. Instead of throwing you right into something and starting there, she really likes to build the whole here's how we got here in the portrayal of her writing, which is definitely happening in this one so far. You're meeting the other contestants who are going to be on this reality TV show. It is a competition-based dating show. It has to do with going on this island and you're going to play games and there's compatibility challenges and couples might switch up along the way. But like I said, they don't know all the details when they are getting there. And then what's included in the synopsis is that something happens and they become stranded on this island. So that's why I'm like, maybe it's going to take more of a survival thriller turn. There are little tiny pieces that you get, like little one-pagers interspersed throughout the story so far. And they're like little radio comms messages that someone is sending out saying, help, we're stranded on the island, people are dying, we need help. So you know things are going to take a bad turn, they're going to get stranded after a storm, but I haven't quite gotten to that piece yet in this part of the story. And I was kind of going back and forth with myself, like, is this too slow of a slow build? Like, do we need to just get going to where we're going? But I think it's doing a good job getting you a good lay of the land and to get you to care about the characters so that when we get to the survival situation, you are more invested. If things start going wrong, you know who people are. You're not just thrown with a cast of 12 random people watching them try to survive on an island. You really start to know who these characters are, details about them, how they got in these circumstances. And I feel like we're gonna get some fun twists along the way. So I'm having a really good time with this so far. Like I said, there's a lot more of the reality TV aspect because you are following people who are on the reality TV show and every single step of the way as they're getting on there. So I'm probably gonna have more to discuss with this book about the themes that it's touching on and what it's representing from reality TV. I'm already seeing some things that are similar to A Game of Lies and some things that are different. So I'm gonna save that all for the big discussion at the end, but I'm gonna keep reading this and I will let you know how it's going. I have finished One Perfect Couple, and I don't know what I've done right in this world. I don't know what I did to earn this karma, but I am on a freaking roll with 5 stars because this was another 5-star. This is insane. I can't believe what success I had in reading these books. Also, I feel like it's been a while since I've given a Ruth Ware book a 5 stars. So this was just wonderful. It was amazing. It was perfectly plotted, perfectly paced. I absolutely loved it. I will say, if you know me, you know I'm a sucker for a survival story. I love a survival story. That is my favorite trope. In a very obvious way of like a survival thriller where people are trapped on an island and they're fighting for their lives, but also just general survival stories where people find themselves in situations like people having to survive in horrible circumstances with bad people who are harming them. Like, I love a survival story. I love to see strong women and women prevailing, and I loved it. I just really loved it. This had everything I'm looking for in a survival thriller. I loved the atmosphere and the setting of the island. I loved Ruth Ware's writing throughout it and how she really puts you through these experiences with these characters. I loved how even though there were a lot of characters, they all stood on their own and very much felt like individual people and they didn't blend together. Like, I knew who everyone was. They were very distinct. I cared about people when it was getting down to some dangerous situations, and I felt such rage. I won't spoil why, but like a particular thing, oh my God, I felt such rage and anger. And when a book can make me feel that way, that's why I know I'm like fully immersed in it. I absolutely love this. I thought it was great. If you like survival stories, definitely pick it up. If you like Ruth Ware, definitely pick it up. If you are a person who likes to read, pick it up. It was great. I do want to chat more generally about the themes connecting these books, reality TV thrillers in general, but I don't love the lighting over here. I was trying to switch it up, different backgrounds, but you know, the sun's kind of coming in and out. Don't love it. So I'm gonna move and then we're gonna chat reality TV. Okay, so I read 2 books that were both reality TV related thrillers. I loved both of them. I gave them both 5 stars. Does this mean I love books with reality TV elements in them? Maybe. I don't necessarily think that is the case though. I think what happened with these 2 books is they both had a trope or a subject matter that happened to be one of my favorite things as well. With A Game of Lies, that is a small town detective mystery. I love small town little murder mysteries like that. And then One Perfect Couple was a survival story. I love survival stories. So I think they just happened to also be books that I would have probably loved even if reality TV didn't necessarily play an element in the story. And that was kind of the case with both of them, is they both started with this reality TV setup, especially One Perfect Couple, even more so because you're following a couple who is going on to be the contestants on the reality TV show. So it's very much like their whole world that they're entering. But in both situations, something goes awry and they're not able to continue filming the television show. So those aspects get stripped away a bit. As those elements are pulled out of the actual plot of the story, you can see how the concepts of what the author was thinking about with reality TV still had an influence on how the story was playing out and different themes that the books were going through when it comes to people's perception of events and how different people can have a different perception on how something played out. Also the theme of like editing / storytelling when it comes to like getting to the truth of a matter. If you think about reality TV, and this comes in very specific scenes and instances in both of the books where you'll see something play out and you see what happened on reality TV, but then you see how it's going to be edited and misconstrued and pulled from all these different things. So like what actually happened was something completely different from what you see on the screen, and you can see how that gets pieced together. That also happened without the reality TV aspect of the cameras and the film necessarily, and just like how people can manipulate situations and manipulate perception and manipulate the stories of what the truth is by the stories that they tell. I will say that in itself is also something I really like to see discussed in books. This concept of what is the truth and how perception can be different for different people, and when an author can play with what they're showing you. Like I like all of those things too. I'm thinking of the book The Sleepwalkers by Scarlett Thomas. That does that, and that has nothing to do with reality TV. So maybe that is why I enjoyed books that had a reality TV focus, because that is inevitably such a big conversation that's going to come up, and a thread that's going to be throughout the way the characters are interacting. Is like, what's the truth? And this person says this thing and this person says another, but like what actually could have happened between them, and how can you manufacture a story, and all of these things. I love not knowing who to trust in thrillers especially, and so I think that aspect is maybe what made me more interested in these books as well. I've been trying to think back on other reality TV show books that I have read, and the only 2 that I can think of, one's a better fit, the other's a little bit less of a good fit, but the only 2 I can think of that I've read are Patricia Wants to Cuddle and A Head Full of Ghosts. Patricia Wants to Cuddle is kind of like a bachelorette kind of television show that they're putting together, and then they end up on this island and they end up in a survival situation. I actually did not love that book. I think I gave it a 2-star, which is funny because it does sound really similar to like One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware, but I didn't love the execution of that story as much. A Head Full of Ghosts is about the siblings who were growing up, and they were on a reality TV show at the time, which was like a ghost hunting, paranormal investigation type of show, because they thought something was going on. I don't remember the reality TV show aspect playing a huge role in that story, but it very much goes into the themes of like perception versus reality and what's the truth, using that as a vehicle in the beginning of the book. And I love that book, and I gave it 5 stars. So I think I might have uncovered something here actually. I know at first I was like, does this mean that I love reality TV books? Probably not. I probably just happen to really like these. I don't think that's true. I think I do love reality TV books because of the conversations that it enters when it comes to perception and reality, and different people's versions of the truth, and who can you trust, and the journey that that takes you through as a reader. I love that. So if you know of any other reality TV books, definitely let me know down in the comments below if there's any that you think I will enjoy. I can think of a couple other I've heard about, but mostly romance books. Like I know there's that book One to Watch, which I think is kind of like a bachelorette experience. And then there's The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane, which I do plan on reading that because I know that I love books from that author. But specifically, if you can think of any other like suspense, mystery, thriller, horror books that have reality TV components or just this general theme of perception versus reality, definitely let me know because I feel like this is a big discovery that I've made that this could be something that I really love in books. Also, let me know down in the comments below if you've read either of these books and what you thought about them. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.